Hi, I'm Jose Anunciato, and you're watching the WebDev channel.
Okay, let's move on. Now we have an up and running toy React application. Let's start looking at something more interesting. Let's look at using Bootstrap, the Bootstrap library, to create some of the components that we're going to need, right? So first of all, let's add Bootstrap as a dependency. Right, we'll say that we need the Bootstrap CSS as a dependency. Notice that you're going to be using npm install, right? Just like right, you can use npm to install a library. In this case, we're going to install the Bootstrap library. You use npm install Bootstrap. That's going to go out to the npm library repository. It's going to found Bootstrap. Bootstrap is a key into that library. You can visit all those libraries by going to npm.js. npm.js is a repository of all the libraries that you can download and install for your Node server. And you can also deploy your own libraries, right? Make them available to the rest of the world, right? That's how folks, they can deploy open source projects in here. And you can search for Bootstrap. If you navigate there, it'll have the documentation, how to use it, how to deploy it, how to install it, what the content is, and so let's deploy it. Let's install it. So we're here. We can say npm install Bootstrap. Now at the end there's a save. Right? If I don't put the save, right, it's gonna download the libraries. It's going to put them in there under node underscore modules, right? So locally, my code is going to work. Right? It's going to have the Bootstrap library. Everything's going to be fine. When I deploy it to Heroku, it's not going to work. It's not going to find it. It says why? It's because we might have forgotten to put -- save. Right? What -- save does is that not only installs it locally, but also declares it as a dependency in my package.json file. Okay. Currently, the package.json file doesn't have Bootstrap as a dependency. Okay, so as a dependency, notice that Bootstrap is not declared as a dependency. But when we run this, it's going to go fetch Bootstrap. It's going to bring down all the CSS, all the images, all the less files. It's going to compile the less files into CSS, and it's going to make it available here as a library. And once it does that, if we go back to here, notice that it's declared Bootstrap as a dependency. See that? 4.1.1, the latest Bootstrap library is now declared. Yes? We can now import Bootstrap as a dependency into our own project. Yes?
So we are saving this locally, and whenever the client, somebody who will fetch it, they will also save it locally?
Yes, exactly. So we're going to push this to a Git repository, right? You're going to clone that, and then if you type npm install, I'm sorry, go ahead.
While fetching, going to the URL of this when we have completed this project and everything.
Yes.
So they will also save this locally. It won't be like the way we did it last time with CDN.
Right, here we're not using CDN. Exactly, very good, yes. This is using a local copy of Bootstrap hosted on our server, correct. Yes, on a production deployment, what we would like to prefer here is instead point to CDN Bootstrap, right? And we'll show you how to do that.
Later we'll change it to CDN?
Yes, at the end. When you're developing, you want the libraries installed locally so that your IDE can do code completion, can do all sorts of, help you develop. If it's pointing to a remote CDN, it won't see that, right? So you'll be kind of on your own. Yep. Yeah, everything's being hosted locally right now. Yep. Yep. It would still work if you point to the remote Bootstrap, but your IDE would not see it. Your IDE would not find, when you're searching for classes, it would not help you to find it because I think you can configure WebStorm to cache linked CSS down to your repository. But for instance, it doesn't do it for JavaScript. Like for instance, if you have other, Angular or whatever, if you're pointing to the remote, it will not cache those. Right. So it's easier for development purposes to have it locally. Yeah. All right, excellent. Actually, questions. All right, so we have that. So let's get started creating a component. Let's see. Let's create here a first component. Let's get started here. We'll say new, and we'll create a brand new component called Course Manager JS, based on and inspired by the assignment that we're working on, right? So the Course Manager will be the top level application, right? Let's declare that. So it will be import React from React, yes. And in here we'll create a brand new component class Course Manager extends, and you could do React dot and then component, right? But that gets old real quick. Or you can instead retrieve from the React library a particular sub name there. So component, and this you can say extends just component. Right? Instead of saying React dot component, right? I want to extract component from the React library and make it available locally in my file, right? As a name. All right, so there we go. So this is going to render, and it's going to return just a h1 course manager. All right, and I'm going to do an export. You can do export here, default, right? Course manager, or you could do it up here. You could say export default, right before the class, declaration of the class. Either one works, right? This gets to be a little long, right? Hard to read. Perhaps we can break that up into 2 lines, makes it easy to read. Right, so once we have that, we can go back to the index page, and we don't really want the hello world, so instead we're going to import the course manager from course manager. And in here, we're going to render the course manager. If we go back and re-render that, notice that this course manager, right? We're ignoring the hello world here. Yes? Make sense? All right. Now, this course manager is going to contain a whole bunch of other components, right? Because it's like the top level component, yes? So typically, we want to put it in, we want to use a directory structure that captures that idea, right? We want to subdivide those components that are just containers and those components that are going to be actual components, right? Low-level components. So we're going to put here containers, and we're going to move Course Manager in there. This is going to say, do you want to, the ID is suggesting, hey, there are other dependencies that are importing this. You want me to check to see if you're going to break something? And say yes. Notice that it automatically updated my reference, okay, which is nice. Right? Let's see if it still works. Okay, there it is. Right, so my IDE did help me there. Excellent. All right, so let's continue. One of the things we're going to do is that we're going to start using some of the classes that are declared by Bootstrap. One of them, it's a very common one, is a container class. Right? It's a container class that adds some padding on either side. It adds like an 8-pixel border all around, so that the content is not flush with the window of the browser. It also adds some nice behavior with if you're using a mobile application, smaller windows. So let's add that. So let's see. We can go to our content manager, and in there we're going to put this inside of a div. All right, and we're going to use class. Now, since class is a keyword in JavaScript, right? What JSX does is that it provides you with a different keyword, right? So it's not class. You can't use class. Instead, it's class name. Class name for classes. Also, because it allows you to embed here calculated classes. Right? You can either put in an actual hard-coded string, right? Or you can put a calculate class that you can calculate on the fly programmatically. Right? Here we're going to just use a hard-coded class name. So it'll be a container fluid. All right, container fluid. That's a Bootstrap class. Let's load it, and let's it didn't seem to like that. Container fluid. Is this compiling? It is. Did I misspell it? That doesn't seem to be misspelled. I never loaded Bootstrap. Okay, let's load Bootstrap. That would help. All right, so let's import that. Let's import it right here. So there's my import, and let's import it from my index. We can say import Bootstrap from the node modules, and there we go. All right, notice that it's already looking prettier. Right. It's a nice font. It'll become apparent as we go on. All right. Let's see. So we have the beginnings of a course manager. Let me remove those extra. All right. All right. So we have the beginning of a container for Bootstrap. Let's move on and start adding. For instance, let's introduce some of the more common and useful Bootstrap widgets. There's tons and tons of widgets. Certainly, we're not going to be able to look at them exhaustively. I invite you to go to Bootstrap, getbootstrap.com, right, and become familiar with some of their examples and documentation. We're going to be spending quite a bit of time on components. Components, there'll be lots of examples on how to style things, different colors, how to use alert boxes, how to style, let's see, breadcrumbs, carousels, forms, how to style forms vertically, horizontally, how to use list groups. Today we're going to be using list groups, and how to highlight a particular item in the list group. How to combine it with other content, navigation with using just simple links, or using tabs vertically, horizontally, tabs, or using pills. So we're going to be using some of these today, right? But no way we're going to do an exhaustive coverage of this. I invite you, to read up on this, and we'll just touch on some of these snippets. And feel free to copy some of these snippets and use it in your own code. Avoid copying entire pages, but a snippet here, a snippet there, that's fine, right? Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Before, if you think of some particular layout, just first see if Bootstrap has something close to what you want, right? And use their widgets. If it's something that goes outside, try to maybe combine from widgets, right? See if it's close to what you want. Otherwise, you'll have to build it on your own, right? All right. Anyway, so let's move on and add. First one is card decks.
I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please subscribe, like the video, and share it. Thanks.